And then just going back to this, so we talked about how organisations can make visible and tangible, improve some of the invisible ways that they're working that are creating friction. And from there we went into talking about a growth mindset and the kind of frame of mind and belief system you need to make that possible. Just going back to some of those ways of working, you mentioned the word flow earlier. So talk to me about flow. What we kind of know what that word is, but we don't really know what it means. So what does it mean?
So flow is this kind of like really optimal state of like being when you're feeling your best and you're working your best, essentially, particularly in a work context. There are a few conditions for flow that are really important. The first one is that you have knowledge, you know exactly what you're doing. The next one is that you've got the capabilities, you know how to do it. The third part is around it's a challenge, because if it's too easy, you're just going to switch off, because a lot of the time there are things that we can do every day that we know how to do, so we know what to do and we know how to do it, but it's just so easy that it's just like you're just in going through the motions, but you're not really in the zone. Also the fourth bit is around feedback, which is as you're doing something, you know whether you're doing it well. So you might think of it as if you're giving a presentation, you can see on the people's faces as you're talking whether they're engaged or not. So you've got real-time feedback on whether you're doing a good job. And then the last one is around focus, which is that you're not getting distracted by what you're doing. This is huge because we're all getting distracted hundreds of times a day. So one thing that I really like to do is we'll talk about phones a lot, because our phones are constantly distracting us. And I think some of the best things people do, first of all, is turn off notifications. I think 2, delete as many apps as possible that they're not using. I'd say 3, make your phone home screen black. Get rid of anything shiny, because your phone is designed to be to take your attention. Apple and Google have spent millions on making their phones addictive, right? That because they want you to come back. They've got these rates that they're trying to get of like people coming back and stickiness of their apps. Well, stickiness is just like addictiveness. So if you're in a large organization and you know that your employees are constantly checking their phones, they're wasting a lot of time because they're being distracted and it's taking them time to get back into the flow. That's what we want to remove. We want to remove the friction there. So little things like, well, trying to make your phone as unsticky as possible is the best thing that you can do. And so a lot of things I teach people is how they can do that with their phone, because they just don't realize it. And often what they do is they make it even stickier by putting photos of their loved ones or their favorite quotes on their back. And that's terrible, because that's actually going to make you go back to it more. So one thing in terms of increasing flow is making your phone a lot less desirable. It's going to really, really help you.
That's so interesting. That's so interesting. Because as you were saying about the apps, I was like, yeah, but you keep your photo of your loved one. You keep your photo of your cat, though, don't you?
No, like I'll show you right now. My phone screen looks like that.
Right.
I tried to have tools at the top. I've got like the main tools here, and then I've just got a phone. And at the moment, I've got my email there, but I should be moving that. I'm doing a little bit of experimentation. And another thing that I do is that now I've got it in black and white. So I literally just go 1, 2, and that changes to color to black and white, because the colors, like I have got on my WhatsApp, I have got notifications, and that shiny color there, that's red, because red gets our attention. Yeah. And so by going 1, 2, 3 on there, I can actually get rid of that and make it black and white. That makes it much less interesting and much less likely that I'm going to click on it, because when you see that red notification, you get this hit of dopamine. You're like, oh, this is exciting. I need to press on that and see what's going to be coming next. But it's in most cases that distracts us and takes us away from being in that zone or in that state of flow. So I think that is a huge thing to work on.
And just exploring through an organisational lens, how do people feel about their employer hiring you to tell them not to use their phones at work?
So I think you've got to be really careful about the way that you send a message. What I try to do is not be kind of forcing people to do it this way. I'm just saying, here's another possible way that we could do it. here, like and I talk about the benefits that I've got from it, and that it's not about doing everything that I've said and just copying exactly the processes that I've got. What I'm trying to do is share lots of different things, and then they can take from it the things that they think are useful. Like a library, I'm showing them all of the books. They can just pick the ones that they think are relevant for them. And in most cases, that goes down pretty well.
Yeah, and I guess none of us are happy about the situation of feeling so sucked into our phones. But it's a bit like a diet, isn't it? Or our eating habits. None of us want to eat junk food or food that isn't good for us, but we probably don't want anyone else to tell us
yeah it's absolutely
shouldn't do. But it's good if people educate us and give us choices.
Definitely. Did you see on the BBC, I saw on the BBC recently, I think it's 80% of people, it might be 90% in the UK, are doing at least one of the top 5 things that we shouldn't be doing for our health. So basically 90% of people are not as are unhealthy because they're doing one of the top 5 things they shouldn't be doing. So it's absolutely the case, and that's why I think it's really important to be careful in the way that you present the information, and it's definitely like not forcing, you're just presenting. Definitely.
Yeah. And so what else do you cover when you work with organizations on flow? So getting phones under, taming your phone.
Yeah.
What other sorts of areas do you help organizations?
Yeah, definitely. So I think friction free, I think is a really important thing that you're trying to move towards here. And so what some of the people spend most of their time at work in meetings or sending emails, particularly when they're in larger organizations. So what I spend a lot of time is helping people have better quality meetings. And a lot of that is around going, well, what's the best practice that we're not doing? That's a huge part of it. And the other part of it is applying concepts that I think, again, are very widely known, but I think people have not been using, like the 6 Thinking Hats by Edward de Bono. I feel like he's such a big name, and for the 10 to 20% of people I speak to, they're like, yeah, of course I know Edward de Bono. But honestly, 80 to 90% of people I speak to every day, they haven't heard of it, and they haven't heard of him, and they haven't heard of his processes. So I personally have seen firsthand that it can make a massive difference to an organization.